This is not a video endorsing Adipurush, the film. Like almost everyone else, the soulless presentation, the tacky VFX, and cringy dialogues has it no mark for us, with hardly anything to talk about the cinematic angles of Adipurush. This is also not a video to warm ourselves from the fire of the ongoing controversy to earn some easy, quick views, which we don't know whether you have noticed have been low ever since we have started the channel. You also might have noticed that we never wanted to talk about the films such as The Kerala Story or The Kashmir Files, in spite of multiple requests from many of you, just because the cinematic quotient of these films always takes a backseat in any discussion, with the socio-political views overriding them. And it is expected to be so, considering the polarized state of the country and the times we live in. So you may ask, why do we talk about Adipurush today? Have we also joined this bandwagon of making the most of this controversy to get the much needed impetus for our channel? Not at all. We do this because what Adipurush has fetched is quite unique and unparalleled. Rarely do we find the entire nation is against one film, irrespective of the political stance. A unifying factor that the country has not experienced, say, since the 2011 World Cup. And in this roast fest of Adipurush, we kind of feel a fair amount of the allegations are misplaced, and it hurts when friends and fellow cine-enthusiasts whom we love and otherwise learn from join the party. The backlash on Adipurush across the board makes one feel how the lines are blurred between the so-called political standings between left, right, or neutral lobbies, and how we might be becoming the same monster we are fighting without realizing the same. Let us try to clarify further. When we talk about Adipurush, the primary problem raised are about its dialogues. How Lord Hanuman sounds like a roadside henchman, and how writers Om Raut and Manoj Muntasher, in their efforts to sound cool, have turned Ramayan into a cheap action narrative. Well, yes, the dialogues are pretty cringy indeed. The criticism is due. However, it is also a knee-jerk surface-level criticism. We wonder if the mass would be similarly enraged if Lord Hanuman would have similar anger and vengeance but through more sophisticated dialogues. But think about it. Is anger anyway a trait of our gods, apart from specific exceptions like Lord Shiva's Rudra Rupa or Goddess Kali? The angry image of Lord Ram or Hanuman that is purposefully made quite popular these days is against the basic message of peace, patience, and tranquility that Ramayana depicts. But we have never seen a backlash there. Hindu gods are serene. There is peaceful tranquility on the faces of our gods even when committing acts of violence. Something which is best described by the word Karuna. Even the demons whom our gods fight and defeat understand that this is inevitable, that this is Leela. If the god wants, they can end everything in a microsecond. But they take the human form to teach humans about dharma and righteousness. We have the Maryada Purushottam Sri Ram, who in spite of being the hero of the epic, is one who perhaps suffers the most, just to provide a lesson that even in the most difficult of circumstances, one should not desert one's righteousness. The essence of a god's avatar, growing among humans, showing human tendencies, and still doing the right thing is at the center of all our epics. This innocence, this nishkam karma of the several manifestations of our gods is lost in the current portrayals in posters and movies. And yet, we do not seem to be bothered by it. We seem to take more offense on the language. This is not a problem of the language, but a problem of representation. If the representation is corrected, the language will take care of itself. Next comes the point of experimentation. Well, you can experiment with the content only if you understand that well. And Adipurush is well short of that understanding in all possible ways. But if you analyze the ongoing backlash, you would realize even a matured experimentation would have fetched the wrath of the mass. You see, we have 33 crore gods and goddesses in Hinduism based on the basic concept of fallibility of each of them, so that if one makes a mistake, the other comes at rescue. And you have so many folklores, stories and myths thriving on that idea. That is why in Mahabharata, even Krishna succumbs to his mistakes. Or in multiple colloquial songs and poetry, we have the disciples cursing their gods. But today we are simply trying to diminish that proximity with our gods in taking them out of reach. And this backlash on Adipurush from the believers at its core doesn't feel different. And for the more liberal, open-eyed cine enthusiasts, hope you realize that you enjoying this backlash party through your taunts and retweets makes your own case even more difficult when you stand against the ban of Sita Sings the Blues or the Legend of Prince Ram just because it was made by a Japanese-led team. You see, it goes back to the idea of keeping our gods out of our reach. This brings us to the other issue about Adipurush not sticking to the Ramayana of our scripts, and Ramanand Sagar's TV Weekly is being cited as the perfect example of how it should have been done. Again, we agree how Adipurush is no representation of our great epic, but perhaps the backlash is more about the deviations from the letters of Ramayana and not the spirit of Ramayana. There are talks about how there are Dementors looking evil army, Indrajit with tattoos, and the disoriented heads of Saif Ali Khan as Ravan. But was Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana devoid of deviations? There were questions even then, whether Sagar is following Valmiki Ramayan or Tulsidas Ramayan. Around the saffron dress the trio wore as against the dress made of kusa grass. Whether Sita's Agni Pariksha was the more authentic portrayal as against Maya Sita depiction as Sagar presents in his work. Or whether Uttarkand, where it was Lord Ram's decision to send Sita to the forest without Sita being aware of it until Lakshman drops her there, which in Ramanand Sagar's version is more of Sita forcing Ram to send herself to the forest. But the media was not such engulfing at that time, and there was no social media platforms to fight among each other. And we understand why Sagar might have made the changes, so that the more popular version of Ramayana is depicted and no wrong message goes to a society through his work that was widely viewed, including from children. What he depicted perhaps has a part to play in the making of our childhood, and another reason we make this video today. And anyway, Ramayana exists in multiple versions with multiple interpretations, so the point of conflict should not be about deviations from any one version anyway. Rather, it should be about deviations which defeat the essence of the basic idea of our epic. The current representation in Adipurush definitely defeats the essence of the basic idea, but we should analyze where our anger is coming from. And then comes few below the belt hits and not so believable stuff being raised against Adipurush. There's this post about Om Raut in circulation where he's supposedly insulting Lord Hanuman. But isn't his post completely the opposite? If one asks sarcastically, "Do you think Hanuman is deaf?" you are meaning he isn't one. This post, which was more about calling out the undisciplined devotees near him, turns out against the man protesting. All these DMs reaching reviewers putting negative reviews of Adipurush to replace them with positive ones to earn 5,000 to 10,000 rupees per tweet also seem to be quite uncanny. Who continues to do that even when it is being reported by many? The tweet to Shiv Sena politician Sanjay Raut seems more like a prank than an actual message. But unfortunately, when it is about mass judgment and media verdict, logic hardly plays a part in the world today. So a boycott of Adipurush is not so different from a boycott of Pathan or boycott of PK. If you are one who was worried about the ongoing trend in Indian society and media, do not be happy that the fundamentalists have fallen into their own traps and add more fuel to the fire. It will only turn you to be like them. And if you are just a common man of the country, bereft of any political agenda, simply hurt for the way your much-awaited version of Ramayana turned out to be, go back to the song sequence from Swades, where the spirit of Rama and Ramayana was presented so effortlessly by a Muslim lyricist, a Muslim composer, and a Muslim actor, along with a Hindu director and artists across religion, caste, and creed. राम ही तो करुणा में है, शांति में राम है, राम ही है एकता में, प्रगति में राम है। राम बस भक्तों नहीं शत्रु के भी चिंतन में है, देख तज के पाप रावण राम तेरे मन में है। राम तेरे मन में है, राम मेरे मन में है, मन से रावण जो निकाले राम उसके मन में है। If this hits home, if this is your version of Ram and this country of Ramayan, perhaps the idea of boycott won't find its way in your heart. Understand that no Ram on Ramayan is safeguarded in milking out easy attention and profiting from a controversy. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching.